I never hang out with photographers. It's a mix of I don't really get to, plus a little bit of maybe I don't really want to all the time. And photography is a niche unto itself, but there's a lot of niches within the niche of photography. And those niches have varying degrees of photographers that are, you know, maybe fun to hang out with to not so fun to hang out with. And I've talked about it before, but part of how I make my living is that I sell prints commercially to businesses from images from my small town photo project image library. And in order to do that, I have to network a lot, but I'm networking with people outside of my occupation. So I'm hanging out with, you know, lawyers, doctors, people who work at insurance agencies, banks, that kind of thing. And I'm not really hanging out with many photographers. And truth be told, if I spent all my time with photographers, my business probably wouldn't be possible. But let's be real, there are a lot of corners of the photography community that are exclusive and binary about what should and shouldn't be involved in photography, and that's kind of a real drag. And that brings me to Atlanta Filmstock 2023. It was an event put on by KEH, the photo store in Atlanta, and Beers and Cameras, and the Darkroom, which is the photo lab I use for all my film. They put out a bat signal for film photographers to come hang out, drink beer, walk around, and just chill. It was a super fun time. And Atlanta is less than 2 hours away without traffic. Granted, there's always gonna be traffic. But it was a no-brainer for me to go. Speaking of which, my hotel room had a great view of the traffic, and I'll get to that here in a second. But when I showed up, I had a roll of Lomo 800 and my Nikon FE that I wanted to finish off. So I kind of spent the rest of the first day finishing off my roll of Lomo 800. So I got there, took a breather for a second, and then I headed down the lobby to grab an Uber to head to the first brewery hangout event. Here's the thing about film photographers. They are the coolest photographers. That's because to shoot film, you have to love it. I've spent a lot of time with other photographers who do photography for a living, and that can be tough. There's a lot of cynicism around the photography world. Personally, I've always been striving to be a professional hobbyist for that very reason, to avoid the cynicism that comes with being a professional photographer. It's easy to become bitter in the digital photography world because it feels so oversaturated. But no one's forcing you to shoot film, so it's all love. So I had a great time at the first brewery event, and I met a ton of cool people, had a blast. I even won this cool tote bag in a raffle. Oh, and here's a photo on Lomo 800 I shot outside the actual brewery that night. It was amazing to see so much talent in one room. And I don't just mean the well-known film photography YouTube people that were there. It was just cool to see everyone's different focuses and where they like to point their cameras. Back at my hotel room though, things were not so great.
Okay, so I'm in the dark right now. The TV is the only thing lighting me because I'm doing long exposures out my amazing view that I have out here. And guess what? I've been trying to do some slow shutter with the Polaroid I2, and I can't for the life of me get it to focus right, and it's driving me insane. I have to find out. I didn't bring a ton of Polaroid film with me. I'm probably gonna run out because I keep wasting shots on doing this long exposure to work, and it doesn't hit focus at all. It's driving me insane. Okay, so I got one shot left. Oh, it's dark. It thinks the lens cap is on. 30-second exposure seems to be cool. Whoops. Okay. Let's try it again. I got one shot in this pack left. Let's try it. So it's not fully developed yet, but I can tell it's definitely not in focus. So, you know.
Now, shooting long exposures on the SLR, pretty self-explanatory and worked decently well. The next morning, I wandered outside of my hotel because the light looked good, and also I didn't really want to spend $15 on cereal and a banana at the hotel. Oh, and for the rest of the weekend, I pretty much just rocked Kodak Gold. That was all I shot. I got some good shots this weekend on 35 millimeter, but I didn't love everything I shot, and I wasn't really focused on trying to get bangers with my Nikon. I was just shooting when it came up. I was relaxed. I had no expectations about any of it. So a lot of the photos I shot were cool, nice, fine. But that changed. So the night before the photo walk, I was ready to throw my Polaroid I2 out of the window it was leaning against, but it managed to get back in my good graces at the photo walk that we did on the Atlanta Beltline, where about 500 film photographers descended like the antelope stampede in The Lion King. And the Polaroid I2 started well when Dylan, a photographer I met who also has affinity for Polaroids, became a ghost. And I gotta say, black frame Polaroids just hit different. I mean, really though, is it a different formulation of Polaroid film? I feel like the blues are so much bluer with the black frame images. For example, here's a shot I got outside of the hotel before heading out, but black frame is just definitely where it's at for me. Here's a Polaroid that Brett, a photographer who I met that actually lives in my area, took of me with the I2 at a pop-up backdrop thing that was on the trail. Now this gets me to the photo. Maybe my favorite Polaroid photo I've ever shot, and one that made up for all of my disappointment on the previous night. The horse, man. Guy on horse. I don't know. I don't have a cool title for it. But there was just this guy on a horse on the Beltline, which was super weird. If you've ever been to the Chelsea High Line in New York City, it would be like finding a guy on a horse there. Like, no idea why he was there. Not only that, but I took the risk of shooting into the sun with this one, but the flare made it look more like a painting. So I lost my mind when I saw this Polaroid. So the buzz of the man on horse Polaroid and some beer carried me through the rest of the night, as I got to chill with people that love photography as much as I do. These are people that love the process. Let's be real, there's no reason to shoot film in 2023. Film's expensive, the camera gear is getting increasingly rare and expensive, and you can buy presets for Lightroom that pretty much look close enough to film to where the average Joe wouldn't know the difference. But it's not about that. It's about the process to create a photo and what it takes to get the final shot. And people that appreciate that process are the people I want to be around. Basically, photographers that talk about what they love about photography rather than talking about the things they hate about photographers.
God, this window's so dirty.
So after going to Atlanta Filmstock, I would be totally willing to travel even farther for an event like this. It was refreshing and reinvigorating. Highly recommend hanging out and drinking beers with a large group of film photographers. 100%, no doubt. So thanks for watching. You can follow my Instagram at Will Malone. You can follow my Polaroid Instagram at RoidRage72. And please subscribe if you'd eventually like to see me get mad enough to where I throw my Polaroid I2 out of a window onto a major interstate.